Hello, Mustang basketball fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm your host, Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University. And this week, we're going to talk about a victory for the Mustangs as they open up conference play with a win over the University of Sioux Falls. Mustangs 4-4 overall, 1-0 in the conference, and now we'll head to the road this weekend for a couple of big games versus Augustana on Friday night and Wayne State College on Saturday. Both on the road, as I mentioned, before coming home to finish up the month of December the following weekend. And joining us on this week's show, we have a special guest with us, as Brad Bigler could not be with us here today, but assistant coach Brooks McCowan joins the show this week to talk a little Mustang basketball. And Coach, before we talk about the University of Sioux Falls game and look ahead to this weekend versus Augustana and Wayne State, give a little background of yourself. Brooks is your second year as assistant coach here at Southwest Minnesota State, but kind of talk about where you're from originally and your playing career in college and then how you got to Southwest.
Well, I'm originally from Fairbank, Iowa, which is about a half hour northeast of Cedar Falls. I grew up there, played for my dad in high school, and then went on to play at Northern Iowa for 4 years. And then after I got done playing at Northern Iowa, I stayed on as a graduate assistant for 2 and a video coordinator for 1. Then I was fortunate enough to move on from there to go to DMAC, which is Des Moines Area Community College, in Boone, Iowa. Actually, it's not actually in Des Moines. Yep. But then I went to, I was able to come here. You know, Coach Bigler gave me the opportunity to come here, and this is my second year, and I've loved every second of it. You know, it's good to work with the people here. The people are good to me. And good to everybody, so it's been good so far. Yeah,
it's been a great journey to have you, and we appreciate all your hard work. And again, we'll talk about the ball games here shortly, but just kind of give your thoughts. You played at the Division I level. You played at coached at a junior college. Talk about the level of Division II basketball. As I said, you've played on NCAA tournament teams in the Division I level and coached, was with Northern Iowa, and they went to the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago. There's some very good players at this level, and I think you've seen it firsthand.
There is, especially in our league. You know, our league is so competitive. Every night you go out, you're going to play against some good basketball players. You know, there's not a huge difference between Division II and Division I. You know, maybe some better athletes here and there, but you know, there's still good basketball. You know, there's still players that want to be good. They're working their butts off to be good, and it just makes it for good basketball and tough basketball every night.
And talk about some of the roles that you have on this staff. Obviously, yourself and James Wallace, the graduate assistant, and also have a volunteer coach and Jeff Hansen. But talk about the daily duties that you have, not only getting ready for, particularly this week's game versus Augustana and Wayne State, but recruiting is a year-round process as well.
Yeah, recruiting is a big thing for us. Especially in the summer, we go out and watch a ton of AAU tournaments. Most of July, we're out on the road doing something, watching games, trying to find some different players. And then during the season, we try to balance it between recruiting and scouts and, practice, because you always want to make your guys better. So you have every day of practice trying to break down your own film. And between Coach Wallace, myself, and Coach Bigler, we kind of split that up. And then the scouts will split up between the 3 of us as well. So we're kind of all working together with that. And then any chance we can, we try to get out and watch some high school games of players we saw in the summer that are on our list for recruits.
And one thing that we talked about in last week's show, Coach, was the red shirts. Coach Bigler gave an update on what those guys do, and you work very closely with those players. They're not going to play this year for the Mustangs, but getting some valuable experience in practice, and you do a lot of individual work with those guys outside of practice, basically all fall and throughout the season as well.
We do, and our red shirts, you got to give them a lot of credit. They work really hard, and some days are not fun for them. There's days where they'll have to lift during the day, they'll have an individual workout during the day, and then have to go try to practice somehow and try to make our team better. Yesterday was one of those days. They had a hard lift in practice. They were all talking about how sore they were, but they had to find a way to make our guys better. So I give them a lot of credit. And those 4 guys are a lot of fun to work with, too. I enjoy working with those guys. I enjoy trying to make them better. And they're easy to work with because they work so hard.
Well, they obviously gave the Mustangs a very good scout going into the University of Sioux Falls game, and the Mustangs opened up conference play, as we mentioned, 70-60, a victory over the University of Sioux Falls. SMSU struggled in the first half, shot just 38%, but in the second half, shoots 62% and pull away for the 10-point victory. Jordan Miller had 16 points for the Mustangs to lead the way. way. Nice game for Lavion West off the bench, 13 points and 6 rebounds, while Bernard Birch, who was coming off that injury, missed the last game against Northwest Missouri State a week earlier. He had 9 points, 4 assists, a couple of steals, and 3 rebounds in the win for Southwest. And Coach, I knew Sioux Falls, they're undefeated. Their first game in the conference, and you knew they'd be a challenge, and it definitely was for the first 30 minutes. I mean, it's a pretty even ball game, but you're able to use a 15-2 run in the second half to pull away. But your overall thoughts of that opening conference victory?
It was a good win for us. Coming home, protecting our home court, that's one of the things we really talk about throughout the year. And Sioux Falls is a very good basketball team. They play extremely hard. Their offense is complex, and it's hard to guard. So our guys did a good job throughout the game of making shots tough for them, making them work for every basket they got, and then finding a way on the offensive end in the second half to continue to attack. We didn't get a couple of the shots in the first half to go. Like you said, we struggled a little bit in the first half, but we felt like we were getting good looks the whole game, and if we stayed with it, we were going to be able to go on a little bit of a run and maybe pull away a little bit, and we did.
And, of course, the Mustangs defensively, a very good job. 36% shooting is what the Cougars finished with. But you could tell, and it's very similar to Upper Iowa, a team we'll see a couple of times later this season. But what makes that offense kind of spread it out so difficult to defend? And obviously, you held them to 36% shooting, so you did a very good job at that. But what makes that offense, and what kind of type of offense is that that Sioux Falls and teams like Upper Iowa run?
They run a ton of sets at you, and some of the stuff they do, their base offense is kind of a triangle offense. But the one thing that they do very well is they cut very hard. Their guys are continually cutting through, sprinting off cuts, making it tough for you to guard, making it tough for you to react. A lot of guys get in trouble by following their guys to the backside and not staying on help side or not seeing the action with the ball because their guys are cutting so extremely hard. Our guys did a good job of seeing the action, keeping it in front of them, and making them shoot and contested jump shots.
And one thing that the Cougars did very well, and that was play very good defense in that first half. Again, you shoot 38%, and really for that first 25, 30 minutes, really struggled offensively. And you look at some of the numbers, just 8 assists, and only made 21 baskets, only shot 42 attempts, which was a season low for field goal attempts, but you did get to the free throw line, which obviously makes up for some of those numbers. But again, that's what Coach Bigler looks at a lot: 8 assists, 16 turnovers, and not a very good ratio at all. But still got the win.
It was not very good for us in the first half, and part of that credit goes to Sioux Falls too. They were doing a good job defensively, taking us out of our game. And forced us into a couple of tough shots. Our guys settled, I think, for some tough shots early, and it didn't get us going very well. But to our credit, we stayed with it. We kept attacking, and we were able to get to the rim and get some easy ones and get our confidence going a little bit.
And that's one thing we brought up last week, and Coach joked when I talked about as a shooter, you go on those streaks, and what's that like? And he's like, well, I was never a shooter, so I don't know what a streak. But you were a player that you shot from the outside. What goes through the mind when you struggle at times? Is it just one of those things you just got to keep shooting because eventually you're going to go in? But I obviously know it can be very frustrating at times. And we've had some guys that maybe normally shoot at a high percentage, maybe around 40% right now, or in those mid to low 30s. But eventually they'll break out of it.
We hope so.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you got to stay with it, and we always tell shooters you got to try to get some easy baskets first. Just seeing the basketball go through the hoop always gets your confidence going, whether it's a layup, whether it's a three-point shot. But part of that is, too, if your teammates create for you and get you open looks, we have confidence in our guys that they'll knock down the open one.
We are watching Mustang basketball with Brad Bigler. This week's episode with Brooks McCowan, assistant coach for the Mustang men's basketball program, as he's filling in. One thing about this past week, Coach, we should talk about, you had a switch in the lineup. We've had a couple of injuries this season, which has forced the lineup to be different, the starting lineup. And Coach has always said it doesn't really matter the starting lineup, but you have started with a different look against Sioux Falls, going with Tremel Barnes and Bernard Birch, along with Jordan Miller, Matt Zager, and Nick Smith. Talk about the change, the reason behind that, and starting Tremel and having Will Giddings come off the bench.
Well, there's a couple reasons for that. We felt like that was one of our good lineups, and then bringing Will off the bench with that other group is, just another good lineup for us. It's kind of a change-up. But, part of that is to the credit of Tremel Barnes. He's been playing extremely well for us this year. It doesn't necessarily show up in the stat line all the time, but he does all the little things, and he's a very tough player. And, we felt like having him in there to start games for us would be good for us. Yeah. And then, bringing those guys off the bench, they come in fairly quickly. So it doesn't really matter if you start like you said, and for us it truly doesn't because of how fast they come in the game. But then our best athletes are coming in the game, and the lineup we have second, we feel like is another very good lineup for us.
A great example of that, Lavion West. He had 28 minutes off the bench in the victory against Sioux Falls, and you look at Will Giddings with 19 and 19 minutes for Sean Condon. So a lot of guys are gonna get their minutes. And let's talk about Lavion. We mention him each week pretty much on this show, but ever since the last part of last season, and it was MVP of the conference tournament. But 13 points, a couple of block shots, 6 rebounds against Sioux Falls, and he's just bringing a lot to the table coming off the bench for the Mustangs.
He does. He's a very explosive player, and he's done a good job of buying into what he does well, and knowing his role on the team and finding where in our offense that he's going to get good looks at the hoop. And, we love having him coming off the bench as an explosive scorer for us. And then, on the defensive end, too, he's one of our best defenders, and he showed it this game by having a couple big blocks for us down the stretch.
Yeah, the Mustangs finished the game with 8 block shots, which is a season high. And the Mustangs out-rebounded the Cougars 34-25, and the Mustangs got to the free throw line a season high 29 times, 23 of 29, including 15 of 17 from the free throw line in the second half as they pull away with the 70-60 victory over the University of Sioux Falls. And one other player I want to talk about, again, had 7 points in the game, hit a big 3, and you dealt with him last year. Didn't play for the Mustangs, but Jordan Buddenhagen really is just been that spark off the bench we've needed. Both along, he and Sean Condon can make some three-pointers, but able to bring it on both ends of the floor, and Jordan's done a great job with that.
Jordan's been great for us this year. All year long, he's just been battling in practice and earning every minute that he gets in the games. And when he comes in the game and, catches the ball, everybody on the bench stands up usually because we know when he lets go of the ball, most of the time it's going in. And he's one of those guys that's going to work extremely hard for you, and you know exactly what you're going to get. He makes a ton of plays on defense that people probably don't realize as well. He's always seems to be in the right place at the right time. But Jordan's been great for us this year, and you can ask any of the guys in practice. He usually lights it up a little bit on the scout team, and frustrates that top group a little bit. So it's good to see him doing it in games too.
Well, also to be back in the lineup, great to see Bernard Birch. Played just 21 minutes, but did have a solid game. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. And great to have your junior point guard back in the starting lineup.
It is. Bernard's a good player for us. He's one of the best players in the league on the defensive end, and really gives people problems at that point guard position. And then to have him with his quickness and being able to attack the hoop and create for other people, it's another element that's good to have in the lineup.
Well, again, the Mustangs get the win 70-60 over the University of Sioux Falls, the first conference game in NSIC history for the University of Sioux Falls, and that is the Mustangs' travel partner here for this 2012-13 season as the conference opened up with everybody playing their travel partners, and the Mustangs get the win 70-60. Let's take a look at the highlights from the contest at the RA facility. Coach, and the Mustangs in the white here, going right to or left to right here, or in the second half. Actually, we're starting off here in the first half. I get the cameras backwards this year. I'm getting a little confused, but we see a good tip there and leads to a layup by Tramel Barnes. And here in this first half, Coach, talk about transition. Here's a great example of that.
Transition was huge for us. With our offense struggling the way it was in the first half, for us to create some offense off of our defensive end was really big for us to keep us in the game that first half.
And again, there you see the transition and layup for Lavion West. And here's a tough hit by Jordan Miller, again, 2 of his team-high 16. And we talked about Jordan Buddenhagen, and he comes through here with the jumper.
Yeah, this was a big shot for us. They were on a pretty good run right here, and I think they were up 7 at this point, actually. So for him to come into the game and hit a shot like this was just a big boost for us, a spark plug, as we talked about him earlier.
Defensive end, the Mustangs trap, and good rotations here by your squad, forcing a turnover.
Yeah, it did. It forced them into taking one of their timeouts, and, to making our guys to rotate like we worked on was a very good stop for us.
Yeah, I thought it might be a 5-second call, but they did get the timeout, kept possession. The Mustangs come back the other way, and tough shot here by Smith, but the old board here by Will Giddings and the basket. And then here's that 3 by Buddenhagen, a big one. Mustangs had just 1 3 in the first half, but this is the one.
Yeah, this was another big shot for us. I think it cut it to 2 at this point, actually, which helped us get to halftime with that tie.
And here's Bernard Birch, really tough play, and gets it to go down with the basket. And here late in the first half, Lavion West taking the charge.
Yeah, Lav did a great job rotating on this one and, just stepping up to take that charge.
And Mustangs and the Cougars tied at half, 25-all. We start the second half here, and a nice take by Jordan Miller and the Mustangs. Some good action to the rim, and you shoot at a high clip, 62% in the second half.
Yeah, our guys stayed with it on offensive end and continued to attack as we see on some of these clips. And, the big thing was for us that we were actually finishing at the rim too. I think we got there a little bit in the first half, but we weren't able to convert them. But in the second half, as you see, our guys did a good job of, going a little stronger and finishing.
You see a move by Miller. Previous to that was Matt Zager, and here's Zager with a nice fake and transition layup for the Mustangs. 12 fast break points to the Mustangs in this contest. And here's a big shot by Jordan Miller with the step back, and then a couple of nice post moves here by Tramel Barnes and then Nick Smith.
Yeah, this was that run you talked about, that 15-2 run, and I think it was actually a 20-5 run in a 5-minute stretch where our offense was just very fluent. We scored on every possession, and then defensively we were able to get some stops, as you see in some of these clips with Love's block. But our guys did an extremely good job of executing in that stretch we had here.
And there's Bernard now taking the ball to the rim and drawing a foul and gets to the free throw line. And these are about the 8-minute mark here of the second half. And then here's a strong move in rotation off the left wing by Lavion West.
Yeah, Lav did a good job there, splitting the double team with that strong move there. And then, our guys continue to attack. And I think on this play they switched it up to zone on us. And, our guys did a good job executing and finding Miller for the jump shot.
Miller with the three. And here's a good pass to Miller to find Zager. Nice reverse layup. And then Sean Condon with the big three here at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, and this was a big shot for Sean. He's been struggling a little bit from the three-point line, but for him to step up and make that shot with confidence, it kind of put the game away a little bit there for us.
There's an and one by Bernard Birch, and our final highlight is Lavion West banging home this three-pointer here for the Mustangs. His 1-3 in the contest, and the Mustangs get the victory 70-60 over the University of Sioux Falls. And the Mustangs had 4 different players hit three-pointers in the contest, with Jordan Miller with 2, Budenhagen, Condon, and West all with the three-pointer. Mustangs 5 of 13 from the stripe. But Coach, get that conference season underway, and you had a very difficult non-conference schedule, and you've been around basketball for a while, and that old cliche that the non-conference and a tough schedule is going to prepare you, and I'm sure you're a believer in that, because it's been a very tough schedule so far, but it's going to help us now that conference has started.
It has been, and we put this schedule together for a reason. We wanted to go out and play some really good teams in the non-conference so we could figure out what we needed to get better at, and we feel like every game that we played in our non-conference teams, we're able to find some weaknesses in us, and we found those weaknesses in ourselves, and we feel like we've gotten better with those things, and we have a better team because of it right now.
And of course, once you start conference play, just the things have that different feel to it, and that's what it's all about, is peeking toward this last week and then continuing this weekend with a couple of tough road games against Augustana and Wayne State.
It is, and both of these games are going to be very difficult. Anytime you go on the road in the NSIC, it's not easy to win. You're going to have to play your best basketball in order to get a victory, but we feel like we're playing pretty good basketball right now, and if we can go in and continue to play well, then we're going to have a good shot at these games.
Let's talk about the Vikings. Your first opponent on Friday night, Augustana, a team that's undefeated last year, made the NCAA tournament, the same regional the Mustangs were at. They've got a very good player, and obviously in Cameron McCaffrey. He's a senior All-American candidate. They're a very young squad, but they've got some talented players.
He is a very talented kid. I think he's leading the conference right now in scoring from the non-conference stuff, but he was injured last year, so he wasn't as explosive as he is now. Watching film on him, he is a very explosive player. He can get by people. He's doing a great job creating for his teammates. I got to give the kid a lot of credit. He's playing some good basketball right now, and he's going to be a tough player to stop.
And then, of course, after Friday night, head on down to Wayne, Nebraska for the conference contest against Wayne State College, a team that was undefeated as well. Going into last weekend, they lost a very tight game to Augustana in the conference opener, but a team that's got a very senior-laden squad. A couple of their top scorers are seniors, and Amy Shelby, one of the top point guards you're going to see in our league.
He is. It's going to be a good test for us again. Both teams have very good players to stop and very good players that can create for other people. And Shelby's another one of those guys. He hits every game. He hits tough jumpers over you. And as a defense, that kind of deflates you sometimes, where you play good defense and then you think you have a stop, and then he just creates for himself and knocks down a shot. So we're going to have to do a very good job on the defensive end, making sure those guys don't get easy looks and get rolling early.
And, of course, the Mustangs then will come home and play Minnesota State and Concordia to finish up the month of December before the Christmas break. Again, big conference games coming up this weekend for the Mustangs. And, Coach, we ask each year, I ask Coach Bigler, and maybe things different or not, but getting ready for conference doubleheaders Friday, Saturday is not always the easiest thing. And obviously you have practice, usually your schedule's Monday, have Tuesday off, Wednesday, Thursday. Kind of talk about your preparation and getting ready for Augie, and then maybe the Wayne State portion as well. Do you kind of mix both in throughout the week?
We do. We try to get their base sets down. We try to mix them in throughout the week. And, defensively, we'll have the scout team throw different defenses at them. With this week, we kind of told our guys, be ready for anything. Wayne State does a very good job of mixing up their defenses, coming at you with a 1-3-1, a man, a press. They'll do anything at you. And then Augie Astana, is basically man, but they will throw a zone in here and there. So we told our guys that they could see just about every kind of defense that you could see in a game of basketball. So that's something we'll try to throw at them. And then offensively, we'll try to throw in the base sets, and then we'll watch film for Augustine before that game. And then on Saturday, we'll change it over to Wayne and go over the scout for them. Yeah,
it should be an interesting weekend. It's always tough when you have to have those back-to-back games, but the coach is always getting the guys prepared for that. Of course, the Mustangs at 4-4 overall and 1-0 in the conference. And we touched briefly on some of your duties, Coach McCowan, here before we got into the Sioux Falls and this weekend's preview. But going back to that, is your job as assistant coach and in charge of helping with recruiting and whatnot. Kind of before we wrap up the show, kind of talk about your duties. Is it more, here's the players we should recruit, Coach Bigler, you tell him, or where he needs to go, or is there kind of a 50-50 split, or what are some of the things that you do to kind of get that recruiting calendar and where you need to be and get both yourself and Coach Wallace and Coach Bigler to all areas of upper Midwest and all over the country at times as well?
We'll all kind of work together with that, where if I see a player in the summer, if I hear of a player from some of the guys I know, I'll tell Coach Bigler. When it comes down to it, we all know that Coach Bigler has the last say in the players and whatnot. But, our jobs as assistants is, to find players, to show them to Coach Bigler, to find out as much as we can about those players, to present them to him. And then if he needs to go watch a game, we'll let him know, say, hey, Coach, you really need to go see this guy and check this guy out for yourself. I've seen him a couple times or whatnot. But, with Coach Bigler, he's really good about that. And we work really well together with him, myself, and Coach Wallace on, just going all over, finding guys. And if he sees somebody, sometimes he'll send me to watch him to get my opinion on him as well. But we all kind of work together to kind of build our master list, you could say, of recruits that we're looking at.
And it's not the easiest process. I mean, you not only have to figure out if they can play at the next level and play 4 to 5 years for you, but there's so many other things, the intangibles, how they are off the court, how they are student athletes, and in the classroom. And those are things that you do a lot of work background with their high school coaches and summer coaches and anybody that has some background on each particular player.
We do. We try to find as much out about the kid as we can. A lot of times talking to the kids, you can get a good feel for how they are as a person. And with our program, we try to recruit the best kids we can, on and off the court. We've been really lucky with the guys we have right now. They're good kids on the court. They take care of their business in the classroom. And then they're good in the community. With the community that we have, as supportive as they are, you have to have good kids. And that's something we value very much in our program, is to make sure that we bring in good kids that will be good in this community.
Yeah, it's been great for years, and I know the fans appreciate that, and obviously having a great product on the court helps as well. And again, the Mustangs at 4-4 overall, very tough schedule so far against all Division IIs and a Division I team, and the Mustangs 1-0 in the conference, more importantly. Mustangs on the road this weekend at Augustana on Friday night. That's an 8 o'clock tip-off in Sioux Falls, and then on Saturday at Wayne State, 6 o'clock tip-off at Rice Auditorium in Wayne, Nebraska. Coach McCowan, thanks for stopping by this week, filling in admirably for the head coach, Brad Bigler, who will be back in studio next week. But appreciate Brooks for stopping by here today, and we appreciate you for watching here at local cable access, Studio One here in Marshall, and on the website SMSU Mustangs as well. We appreciate your support of Mustang basketball. I'm Kelly Loft, and until next week, for next week's show, I'm Kelly Loft saying goodbye and go Mustangs.